Hello, beautiful people. We are in the studio today with the one and only Westside Gravy, aka Noah Shufutinsky. Welcome to the studio. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, man. It's been a minute. I'm a big fan of the music.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the whole thing that you do with the Asbara, working with Stand With Us. You're fighting the good fight. You're pushing a lot of different amazing content, especially recently. What's your source of inspiration, and can you give us a little background about your journey, how you got to start in rap, how you started in the Asbara? Let us know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'd say my number one inspiration would just be, it's hard for me to like pinpoint a certain one. I guess I have to tell a little bit about my own personal story to really get there. But honestly, like the family that I grew up in, it was always really important to to have a value, to be instilled, to be unapologetic, to own who we are, to know our story, know that we have the responsibility of telling our story. Sometimes we might be the only one who knows who we are as a people. And that means that, like, for example, as a kid growing up, there were times where I was the only Jewish kid in class or the only black kid in class, and usually the only black Jewish kid in class. So when someone had a question about any of those things, they were going to turn and they're going to look at me. And sometimes it was a double standard. Sometimes it didn't necessarily seem fair, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who has the voice and the experience to speak up on it. So I'd say my inspiration are those values that my parents passed down for me, that my older brother modeled for me, that I found and share with my wife, building a family here. So really those people who are around me. Thank you.
Big mazal. Being in class as like what you stated, the only Jew or the only black child or whatever, the only Jewish black child, how did you use that to be your superpower, and how did you overcome prejudice and overcome obstacles along the way to be who you are and so loud and outspoken in general?
That's a really good question. For me, I think that seeing it as my superpower started even before I hit the class. So a lot of parents are like anxious about talking to their kids about these kind of issues and the problems that they'll deal with, and racism, discrimination. But my parents really leaned into it. So my dad, he came from the Soviet Union at a really young age. My dad was born in Moscow. They left as refugees when he was 6 and bounced around Europe until finally making it to Brooklyn, New York. And for him, he was used to that kind of experience where, you know, he grew up for the first part of his life in the Soviet Union. He was aware of the stories of what that was like for Jews growing up there. So when he got to America, being a refugee immigrant kid, being a Russian kid during the Cold War, being a Jewish kid, automatically he knew that he had to stand up for himself. A message that my dedushka, my dad's dad, kind of passed down to him was like, never start a fight, but always be the one to finish it, right? Never back down from a kind of problem. So my parents kind of instilled that in me from a young age. And a large amount of it was also through music.
And if memory serves me right, I don't mean to name drop, but your grandfather is a very famous, well-known musician and singer, like the Frank Sinatra of Russia, basically.
Yeah, you could put that. Russia and the rest of the former Soviet countries too. Shout out to Bukharians, Kafkazim, everybody.
There we go. Especially Bukharians. Tell us a little bit about him. Like, how do you find success in that?
Yeah, so
field?
For me, it was kind of like normal. At the end of the day, that's my dedushka. Like, that's my grandfather. As a little kid, like, he would take us to Toys R Us to get us. It was always like, oh, we're going to go for a surprise. And we'll go to Toys R Us, and he'd let us pick out all kinds of toys around the holidays, around New Year's, especially in Hanukkah. But I got to see him from a young age perform, and I got to see how people loved his music. And I got to see him perform also in the U.S. and also abroad in Russia, like many years ago. And it was just kind of cool to see that, you know, the songs he was performing, a lot of them were like fun songs, but a lot of them were storytelling as well. So I think, I mean, I'm not necessarily the singer that he is melodically.
Wait, who is he, first of all?
Yeah, so his name's Mikhail Shufutinsky. To me, that's my grandfather. It's my dedushka. So that's why I always just go with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's really like a pioneer of the chanson genre of music and really making it a mainstream kind of genre that's appreciated across the former Soviet world, and for sure also in Israel too. You go to any neighborhood here where there's a bunch of Russians, and sometimes on Yom Kippur, it's actually funny. Yom Kippur, I'm sitting there, I'm fasting, and I hear my neighbors downstairs blasting his songs. So.
And that, I'm sure, like if you drop the name in any Russian bar, that's like automatic free vodka shot. No matter where you are.
It works. Sometimes discounts at the appliance store. You know.
Do you think either consciously or subconsciously did that affect your musical journey, and did you learn a lot from his experience?
Yeah, I think subconsciously, even before I like made the conscious decision to pursue music, I always thought, well, this is so cool. Like, my grandfather sings, and then he had a couple songs collaborating with rappers in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, and that was kind of cool because I also grew up around a lot of hip hop, which I'm sure we'll talk about that plenty. And then also just consciously, like I would listen to my Diedushka songs, and there's a few songs that I have are actually sample some of his songs or like take inspiration from them. So I don't know, maybe we'll do a collab one day. But yeah,
you definitely won't sue, right?
No, for sure not. For sure not.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
I hope not. I asked him first, so it's okay.
Basically, like being in Israel and being unapologetically Jewish, Israeli, Zionist. What kind of backlash have you faced? Have you received hate? Have you received more love and support? Do you view your goal now, like with your music, as more of like a voice for Israel, or is it just whatever inspires you in that moment? How do you see that?
So I think that music inherently, this sometimes is like a hot take for people, especially nowadays. There's arguments about like what music should people actually be promoting, what role should a message have in the music. But I think music is inherently impactful. And I think it has the inherent power to actually get across a message. So I think it's an artist's responsibility to actually use their music and use their art to get a message out to the world. Now, that doesn't always need to be something super political. So I don't think my music is necessarily to be the voice of Israel, but it's supposed to be my voice. And for me, as a Jewish person, I'm part of the nation of Israel. I'm part of the people of Israel. So for me to set that aside would be a disservice to my music, a disservice to my listeners, and a disservice to my purpose. So I look at it more as like a reflection of who I am, and Israel has become such a larger part of my identity after coming here and visiting here and moving here. So of course it's taking up more space in my music, but also if you listen to like my most recent albums, there's a lot of different themes that I kind of touch on.
Like what inspires you lately? What kind of themes are you most passionate about incorporating in your music?
So I really like to showcase what Israel's actually like the reality of Israel, because it's a reality of what my life is right now. So some songs are going to be much more political, you could say. I don't even necessarily see it as political, but they're going to deal with, okay, this is the reality for a group of people living in a country that's been at war, that's been under attack from a bunch of different proxies, from the Iranian regime itself, people who've lost people. And on top of that, the experience of me personally, somebody who grew up in the United States, who have close friends, for up to like a decade, who I'm not in touch with anymore because they switch sides. Mm-hmm. Not switching sides on a conflict, but switching sides on a person. Like I have a guy who I was friends with for like 10 years, right? He's groomsman at my wedding. And wow. Long story behind that. But so also expressing that, and that's something that a lot of people can relate to, sadly. But also through the music, helping people realize, hey, I'm not alone. We're going through this in different ways, and we've got our brothers and sisters here to kind of to rebuild that kind of connection with.
No, what do you think is the biggest like misconception about you as an artist and as a person? What do you think most people don't understand?
That's actually a really good question. I've never thought about before. I think sometimes there's a misconception that because I'm sometimes rap about serious things, there's also not power in the more lighthearted things. So I have songs that talk, like I mentioned, about serious topics when it relates to Israel, but I also have a lot of songs that are just fun, that are just upbeat reflections of like the Israel that I know and that I experience. And I think that sometimes that's even more powerful for people to listen to, for people to share, for me to create, because that's the side of us as a people that people don't see. And the example I bring back is my favorite singer of all time, like that I grew up listening to, obviously my Diedushka, right? Mm-hmm. But one of my favorite singers is Sam Cooke. Now, Sam Cooke, he has a change gonna come, right? Talking about what life was like in the 1950s and 60s for Black Americans. He was born in a town probably like 15, 20 minutes away from where my grandma was born in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. So there's that heaviness to it. But you listen to Sam Cooke, and through his music, you see that he wasn't defined just by this box of racism or of a response to racism. He has love songs. He has all sorts of different songs that showcase his full range as a human being, even as a Black person living in the Jim Crow South. Mm-hmm. So I think that the power of music is showcasing who we are on that entire range, on that entire scale. So I think the misconception about me is that sometimes people will see me only from that box of this is this guy who's gone through a struggle of anti-Semitism and racism, and not the entirety of who I am.
What do you think is like right now? I feel like we're experiencing like an evolution of rap, an evolution of hip hop, like an evolution of the culture, right? So what direction do you see it moving in, and like what's like pushing that momentum, like that movement forward?
So the evolution with rap right now, I think, is crazy simply just because of the internet. Like my dad would always, in high school when I was making beats and rapping, my dad was like, man, if I had this equipment that I could just make an album in my bedroom, you would take over back then because of how easy it is.
Wow.
So I think that's really like positive, because you have so many people who have an outlet and they want to express themselves. And today they're able to do it because of how much you can use social media to get out there, how much you can use technology. Literally at this point, people are making songs on their phones, like purely just on their iPhone. But at the same time, that also means for people who see the art just as a way to make money, also can take up space in this like landscape online of artists who are trying to put music out. So I think that the evolution today is that you have way more artists who are talented and also less talented. And I think the thing that's really going to push them forward is how much are the actual talented people going to be able to diversify their skills to be talented, and also everything else that needs to succeed. Social media, marketing, viral moments, so on and so forth.
Amazing. And do you feel like you're utilizing and like you're more accepting that change, or like are you more of like an old school purist of like I'm going back to like the analog, you know what I mean?
So I think I mean, like there's a different sound when you actually have like analog stuff. I record all my stuff digital, but like I have a couple analog pieces and compressors, and it makes the sound cool. So I think for me, I try to balance it. In a way, I'm a purist when it comes to the music. Like I'm not with like, I don't really care what people are going to want to rap about that much. I have to be able to understand your lyrics. Like I got to be able to understand the actual words.
So you don't feel like the mumble rap,
no,
like
you're
not into it?
I'm not into it because I think it also a lot of times doesn't necessarily have roots in anything. Hip hop has always been something that had roots in something that came before, and being able to turn it into something new. But at the same time, I'm all for fun music and party music and like music that's just about people. There's always been that in hip hop. There always should be that in hip hop. So when it comes to that, I'm more of a purist. When it comes to like the beats, I love how you have rappers from all over the place putting spins on like hip hop music just based on their locale, based on what they grew up around. I love the British music. I love the British drill music and like the types of beats they rap on. I love how now it's like combining with like South African music. It's sick. It's sick to see. But I think so I'm embracing the change when it comes to that, but I'm also still trying to hold that balance of not just like abandoning the roots that I grew up with to hop onto a new wave. I think is going to be more lucrative or popular, because I think that also fails in the end.
We're gonna piss some people off now, but we're also gonna make some people super excited. So we're gonna talk about the top 4 GOATs, the Mount Rushmore of rappers.
All right.
The greatest of all time, all right?
Let's do it.
Do you have your answer prepared, or you got to like kinda...
I got 3 of them. I got to think of a 4th, which is, it's always hard. You get the
Are
3
they in order, or
mind.
it's just like they're all kind of like interchangeably?
Some of them I'll put in order as far as like my favorite, but it's hard for me to say like objectively who I would say is like the best skill-wise. My favorite rapper is Tupac. Tupac's my number 1. Like he's my number 1, and I'll go into why. Like I get in debates, I tell people this is why. Tupac's my number 1. I think regardless of what people want to say about the music changing over the years, which I wouldn't even agree with, Eminem is up there. I don't think you could talk about the top 4 of rap, even just from influence and people he's reached and impacted, without Eminem.
Yeah.
E40.
Okay.
E40 is on this list for me. His wordplay, the way he's unapologetically from the Bay, he's got his own lingo, he's got his own slang, his own flow. He's always rapping on crazy beats, and he's just been in the game. There's every era of my life. As a child, there's an E40 song that you could find to associate with that era. So I got to put E40 there. And then that number 4 spot, it's hard because like right now, if I'm thinking about people who like influence me, I would say like 50 Cent. 'Cause I listened to 50 Cent since I was a little kid.
Okay.
And like he's also someone who's always finding a way to stay relevant. But there's so many people I think you could put in that number 4 spot.
That's pretty wild. There's not too much love for the East Coast in that list. A little bit.
No hate to the East Coast. There's
no hate
for the East Coast. I think like lyrically you have some of also the best rappers from the East Coast.
Wow.
I think like you look at like the lyrical rappers and even today. Like
for me, it's like Nas has got to be on there.
Not yeah. Okay, so that's someone.
For
that's
me.
why I said all right. I put 50 Cent. I put 50
he-
Cent. But if someone is like no,
crazy
Nas has
bars.
got to be there. What am I like? Nas is Nas is also up there. So that's why it's like a little personal.
There's so
preference.
many in the conversation. There's so
Yeah.
many.
Who else we got for the East Coast? I know people would put like Mobb Deep up there, thinking like he made shook ones at like 19 and 20. That's crazy.
I really like Easy. He's West Coast, but I really like Easy. I really like you know who's like slept on?
Yeah,
like Loki. LL Cool J.
Oh, LL Cool J is a go.
He's great, bro. Nobody gives him credit because he's on like the primetime TV now or whatever.
He's
like,
a go.
But he's not. He had some really like he changed the game for real, like big time.
When I was in 5th grade, we had like a talent show during like the Color War or whatever, and I rapped a LL Cool J song. And it was like, like none of my peers really were, they weren't hip to it. They didn't really listen to rap at all yet. And I was like, got to start with the basics.
All right, amazing. Okay, so now you said the top 4, disregarding all those, disregarding anyone who we spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
Dream collaboration. Dream collab.
Man.
Right now, like
rappers?
What? No, doesn't have to be. Not necessarily.
Okay.
You can have a Taylor Swift collab. I mean,
Kendrick did that. Kendrick did that. I can't compete with Kendrick.
You know, like somebody who you think like your flow and their flow, like you just want to pick their brain and you want to like create some amazing music with.
I want to make a song with Schoolboy Q.
Oh.
I think Schoolboy Q. I listened to a lot of Schoolboy Q. I think his albums are really put together well. And he's also someone who like is very authentic. He raps about his experience. He has a message, but he also has just really like enjoyable, creative music. So I'd say Schoolboy Q's there.
Amazing.
So I guess sticking with rap.
All right, let's have like a complete not rap answer, like hot take answers.
Omer Adam.
Celine Dion?
Omer Adam. Omer Adam.
Okay, that could probably happen.
Yeah.
That's not too
Let's
far.
make it
That's
happen.
in the realm of existence. We're manifesting it. Omer, if you're listening, man, come on.
Let's do it.
Enough said. Amazing. Is that your favorite Israeli artist?
That's another hard one. I love Omer Adam. I think also I like the group Iowa. You know,
of course.
They were sick, like all the time in university. No, this sick. Like that would be a collab. I'd want to work with Tuna and Echi Nech, both of them, all of us on a song together. That'd be crazy. That's again getting back into rap. I'll do a song with Chaim Moshe, the OG.
Opa.
You know, do some classic Mediterranean rap music combination.
I'm sure that you've collabed with some of these Israeli rappers or Jewish rappers, right?
Yeah, so I've worked with a really cool scene. Like, there's a really cool scene in Israel because there's just talent everywhere. Yeah. So I actually am working on an EP with one of my homies who goes by the name Ben Lulu. Mm-hmm. And we have like a few songs out together, but we're working on like a really cool EP that's like a mix of like West Coast meets Israel. It's gonna be crazy.
Nice. And in terms of, you're working on some new projects, right?
Yeah. So I'm working on that project with him. I got another project I can't talk too much about yet, but looking for like a summer release. But I got like a new single that's pretty much ready to come out, hopefully end of January, early February. So
are we at the Dan Paz exclusive? Can we get a little taste, a little teaser?
Yeah. I got you.
Can you drop some bars for us?
Yeah. So I'll do like a little verse from it. All right. And then you guys are getting the preview. The song's called King David. So when I put that on King David, my disciples ain't no gangsters. All black forces still ain't banging. This ain't what you thought I was claiming. All my YGs carry shavers, but we ain't cutting corners even without growing pace. Yo, my block on lock like it's a castle. Homeboy got that up on his hip right by them holy tassels. Call that divine protection. Blue stripe behind my back is wonderful, reminding that it's 3/4 of life still pending. Still trying to be dropping while I'm on pension. Check my phone, another mention. More death threats for my collection. Independent. That means none of y'all are bosses to me. Ran through like 3,000 as if all of that was promised to me. Yo, and you know I get it back. Should've known we float through floods. The Ark of Noah is intact. And I know it makes them mad. They want me scared to show these tats. But I lean into the hate. I rub my hands and count this cash. Hey.
Let's go.
A little preview.
We got some bars in the
Just
studio.
wait till y'all hear the beat. Just wait till you hear the beat behind it.
Okay. I'm excited, dog. Wow, that's gonna be fire.
Thank you, man. I'm excited.
That's gonna be fire. What inspired that track?
So the whole song for me again was kind of like it's kind of like a take on when you hear the beat, like it's all gonna kind of make sense. But when we talk about like role models, Jewish role models, you know, today it's hard for some people to try and think of some and to come by. But you look into our actual text and our tradition, King David showcases a real human being. Right, it's someone who was flawed and was punished for those flaws. It's also someone who has who deserves a lot of accolades and was an amazing leader. And he's also someone who's a scholar and who's intelligent and was also a warrior. And he's also a musician. He's also a writer. So for me, it's taking that kind of essence.
Multi-hyphenate.
Yeah, literally, he's all over the place. So for me, it's like that's a role model. Those are kind of values we should aspire to, and also that kind of accountability in that story of, if we make mistakes, we're going to have to answer for them, right? But that doesn't mean that we should just give up and not continue to try and do what's best. But it's also, the whole song is also kind of, there's a lot of references to some of the stuff people will comment and the hate comments, and you got to just let it roll off, you know?
On that subject again, how do you deal with those haters? How do you deal with, does it fuel you? Do you ignore it? Do you let it get to you sometimes? How does it go?
At this point, most of it I let roll off. Or I'll use it for content. Like I get crazy comments, and I'm like, all right, like we're gonna be doing a reply reel to this, and then they're gonna keep arguing, and it's just better for the algorithm. Like, what am I supposed to do? But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like it's a little bit difficult at times, or it was. When I first released, I've always kind of talked about Israel in my music, or Jewish, like, because I'm rapping about who I am. Yeah. But when I made the first song, it was really like about Israel. After one of the times I'd come and visited Israel, I got a ton of hate comments and I got death threats. And at first, I would start responding to people because they're saying crazy stuff in the comments. So start responding to them. I'm like, oh, I'm going to like show them, and I'll show them the truth. And then they just respond and like, go kill yourself, N-word. I'm like, all right, so like, what's the point of even arguing with them? So after like 2 weeks, I was like, whatever. Like, these people could say whatever they want, but I'm actually focused on how, because they're leaving all these comments, my message is getting to a whole bunch more people who need to hear it.
Yeah. You hear that, guys? Keep fueling it with the hate. It's good. It's good for the algorithm. Keep going.
Yeah,
keep going, guys.
Sometimes, like Friday afternoon, you blow off some steam, just like troll some of them. What are you going to
do? So I know that you have a lovely wife and you have a beautiful marriage. Bli ayin hara, tfu tfu. Can you tell us some advice? How do we find our other half? How do we maintain a good marriage with good communication? Because you're a role model, man. You're living it.
For me, it was also like the role model of like seeing my parents. You know, I grew up my dad was in the U.S. Navy. So the military household for sure is going to come with like challenges that a lot of households wouldn't necessarily have, just because my dad's getting deployed. My mom's taking care of kids at home. My dad's taking care of us. And we understand why he's gone, and that also means that life is going to look different, moving around every couple of years. And I just saw like dedication that they had to one another, and the way that no matter what, they would always put a family first, because they had a goal. They had a goal of, look, we're in love with each other, we love each other, and we're going to make sure that we set a good role model for our kids, so our kids one day will like be able to replicate that. So one is like connecting to like role models. It's always going to go back to that. For me, it's like, for me to have a good, positive family is also an honor to my parents, right? And that's what it's written. We're supposed to honor our parents. We're supposed to respect our parents. So that's the first part of it. And two, is just being like, I don't know. For me, I kind of just honestly, like I dove headfirst into the relationship. I knew that I wanted to find somebody who was family oriented, who had the same values as me. And when I found it, like I didn't sabotage myself. I wasn't scared of putting myself out there and letting her know how I felt. And thank God she felt the same way. But that kind of broke down any kind of barriers and just led to like the most honest communication. So not being scared to put yourself out there, no matter what the response is going to be. And then paving the way just with honesty and open communication. Because if you're honest about something and you're really meant for each other, you'll be able to get through it.
Amen. You guys heard it here. Follow those instructions and then you might find your person. I want to also kind of take this moment to make an exclusive announcement. Yours truly, I'm directing a musical production of Guys and Dolls that is being produced by the incredible actor Michael Aloni from Shtisel and Beauty Queen of Jerusalem. It's going to be starring some incredible actors. And this is a exclusive announcement, but Noah Shafutinsky, aka Westside Gravy, is a part of the cast. So this is the first cast member that I'm officially interviewing.
Let's go.
How does it feel to add the actor hyphenate to your already long list of titles?
Man, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to learn new skills, especially from super talented people, and to also, just tap into like that different creative side. I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun to meet new people, to meet new challenges, and to really challenge myself.
It's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be seeing a lot of each other. Phenomenal cast, and you guys could catch it late March in Echala Tarbut in Tel Aviv. See you there. I wanted
heard it here first.
Heard it here first. So you're doing the Hasbara, you're doing the music, now you're doing the acting. What's the goal for Westside Gravy? What's the goal in 5, 10, 20 years? Where do you see the future?
I see myself on one of those people's hip hop Mount Rushmores. Next time you interview the next rapper you interview is gonna be like, yeah, Westside Gravy. But for real, I think it's to continue to reach people, and I think to break through what I would say is like, in a certain extent, like a gate-kept industry. Even by fellow members of the tribe, even by fellow Jews who are in the music industry. And this kind of comes full circle to that question about how hip hop is evolving. There are a lot of people who don't want to touch anything or anyone related to Israel, even Jews, because it's too controversial. And it pisses me off a lot because I grew up listening to rap music and knowing that rap music was something that wasn't necessarily accepted because it was too controversial. And to see now that people are saying, oh, no, this is too controversial for me to let into the industry is like spitting in the face of the people who set up that industry to begin with. Like you mentioned Eazy-E. Eazy-E didn't say, look, I'm going to censor myself and write a op-ed in the New York Times about the police policy in South Central Los Angeles and Compton, right? He made the song. They made the song, right? And you can agree with the song, you can disagree with the song, but it forced the conversation to happen. And I think that kind of representation is necessary for the Jewish community. So this is something that kind of all blends all of my interests into one. I want people to see that there's a Jewish guy who was able to make it without shying away from an aspect of his identity.
Amazing. Beautiful, man. If we kind of take it back to the place of like Hasbara and the place of like getting the message forward, where oftentimes we see like an echo chamber, or we're preaching to the choir, or we're facing the people that like no matter what we say, it's just automatic rejection of what we're trying to say. What do you think are the ways that we can kind of break through those barriers and to actually make a difference in what people call Hasbara or Israeli advocacy? What do you think are the most effective tools that could be used?
So I think the first is not being shy, like about who you are. So an example I'll give, I was in a Uber in Northern California since October 7th, right? And I had this driver, and he was asking where I came from. And that's always the question everyone's worried about. I have an easy cop out if I want. Oh, I'm from California. It's tattooed on me next to the Israeli tattoo, but fine, like, right? But I'm not going to do that. I was coming in from Israel. So I told him Israel, that's where I live. And a lot of people are shy to do that. And I get that it's like a scary situation in some cases, but I think as a collective people, like we cannot let that become like the pattern that we follow. So I told him I'm from Israel. And his first reaction was like, oh, so sad what's happening and all the innocent people dying. Israelis are good people. I know they don't support the genocide. And automatically by bringing this up in most people's mind, they might want to shy away from that conversation or get super defensive. But I could tell, like, all right, this Uber driver, he had mentioned to me that he's from Brazil. English is his second or third language. He knows Israelis, and he mentioned that he knows Israelis, and their Israelis are good people. So there's a chance to actually have a conversation here. So we actually talked about it, and I told him, well, right now Israel's fighting a war, right, where we got attacked on October 7th. We've been under attack since. You have Israeli citizens who were murdered, and that's how this war started. And you have Palestinians who've been killed as a result of that war that their leadership started. And if we want to actually stop this suffering, We need to deal with the root cause, which are the terrorist organizations that started this war. And then we can talk about like how a peaceful future is going to happen. But that's a war that actually most of the Israeli people support the cause of. It's not a case of a genocide. You're not going and just trying to eliminate an entire group of people in whole or in part. And the guy said, oh, yeah, I guess I never heard anyone explain it that way. But yeah, it's so sad what happened October 7th. You know, I actually know Brazilian people and who said that Brazilian people were killed there at Nova. I can't believe that happened. I hope for peace. So this is a guy who's just echoing the language that the entire other side has inundated social media platforms with. And you realize after talking for 5 minutes, after not being scared first to say that you're coming from Israel, that you're Israeli, not being scared to correct him on what he said and not being scared to jump into conversation, you realize that this guy, if anything, is somewhat on our side, right? And if you don't approach that group of people, you're going to lose everybody else. You're going to lose everyone. We're not going to convince the guy who's saying that you should be sympathetic with Hamas. You're not going to convince him to like us. We shouldn't be worried about convincing him to like us. But they also feed off the fact that our voices get silenced. And a lot of times it's because we self-silence. We silence ourselves because we're scared of these confrontations. So I say I'm not like, oh, be confrontational, right? But don't be scared to have a conversation and don't tuck in who you are. I think it's also easy for me to have that takeaway because I'm black. So I grew up and I was aware of racism and stuff. And like, there's no changing the texture of my hair. There's no changing my skin color. Even if I'd ever want to, which I would never want to. I love being black. There's no changing that. So it's like, why should I have to change this part of me, this part of who I am?
When you're dealing with people that are commenting from within the black community about the Israel issue, do you feel like there's some like misconceptions and like things that like basically there's certain like a binary victim and oppressor narrative that they want to automatically side with the perceived victim? So it's like they kind of relate it to something that's not really relatable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's like this aspect of like this binary that people have put into place for communities all around the world, because also you look at the people who are doing it and they're exploiters, right? I don't want to hear from someone who's supporting the Muslim Brotherhood about black rights, right? Because black people are treated horribly across the Arab world, right? I don't want to hear from someone speaking Arabic in North Africa about Pan-Africanism, because why are you speaking Arabic in North Africa? What are you doing in North Africa? How did you get there? Colonialism, imperialism. And I think that's the core misconception. And I can be a voice for that when I'm talking to members of my own community. And people don't necessarily know that, right? I even had this guy who I knew a few years ago repost something that Farrakhan said, right? Farrakhan, we know him as Jews as someone who's just a crazy anti-Semite, right? Mm-hmm. Some members of the black community might appreciate him and what his movement has done, but a lot of members of the black community, especially the older generation, know him as the guy who made excuses for potentially even having a role in killing Malcolm X. The young generation doesn't know that because the other side whitewashes everything that's useful to them. So I think that like starting the conversation with that knowledge, I swiped up on this guy's story, and my point of view wasn't even, hey, did you know that like Farrakhan said blah 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 about the Jews? My point of view is like, bro, Farrakhan's a traitor to his own people, right? Farrakhan had a role in killing Malcolm X. He defended the killing of Malcolm X, right? Who the same person would probably post as a good example of a black leader. And he repeatedly has said that the rightful place of a woman, of a black woman, is just in the kitchen and it's okay to abuse her. Like, he's not a role model for the black community. Mm-hmm. And most of these people are not role models for the black community. Most of these anti-Semites within the community. So it's kind of, you got to tear them down.
Which people should, in your eyes, the black community empower and give place for leadership? Like, what kind of leaders are needed?
So I think that we need leaders from either side of the political spectrum in the United States of America, not even diving too much into that, but who actually put black issues first and don't just let black issues become a sort of backseat or become like a racial playing card for another cause. And I think that we have an issue in the black American community right now of leadership. It's a crisis of leadership that I think you also have in the Jewish community. So that's another thing that brings us correctly.
Just a blanket like crisis of leadership in general.
And I think that comes from multiple reasons. You have black leaders who were assassinated following the civil rights movement and during the civil rights movement. And since then, you've had people who are not really there for black rights, but are seeing themselves as part of some like collectivist class struggle, who swooped in and posited themselves as black leaders, like Cornel West. He's a clown. He's ridiculous, right? He's not a black leader. Angela Davis is not a black leader, right? She's black and she's a leader amongst communists. She's not a black leader.
What do you think? Like now you have the Mamdani mayor, leadership in New York City as a mayor. How do you feel like that's pushing politics forward, or is it holding it backward, or what is it doing in general, in your opinion?
I mean, I think on one hand, it's just even the stuff he's doing on his first day is regressive, right? I'm just going to repeal everything that was done before me, all these orders, including things about anti-Semitism. Surprise, surprise, when you appoint a whole bunch of other anti-Semites to your advisory.
I guess he wasn't bluffing.
Wasn't bluffing. He was honest, right? He told us everything we needed to know.
Yeah.
So I think that it's pulling it back in that sense. And I think that the root cause of it, again, is like people are not necessarily educated, and there's an identity crisis. The people who are going to vote for Mamdani are not necessarily even like, let's examine who he is himself. He's the child of an Ivy League professor who couldn't get into the university his dad was a professor at. He's a Nepo baby who switches accents every interview to try and like blend in with what he thinks people want to hear. Like, he's a fraud. He's never worked a day in his life of a job of 9 to 5, and he's supposed to represent a city of working people and say that he's going to be a champion of the working class.
He was a rapper.
He was a whack rapper.
Say?
He
Rapper
won't have
a job.
Look. I'm gonna say this. I'll say this. I've worked 9 to 5s as a rapper, before a rapper, after being a rapper, right? And it gives you valuable experience. Most rappers have worked at one point or another jobs.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna be leading a city, you gotta be representative of the people in that city one way or another. And I think a core aspect, you can't say I'm gonna be a working class hero and you ain't never worked in your life. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing people would criticize a leader from the other side. Oh, he's, like if he was a Republican, people automatically would be like, oh, he's rich. He grew up, rich parents, privileged, blah, blah, blah.
Well, you had like what would be called the woke left, right?
Yeah.
That it's been very prevalent for a long time, but now you have the emergence of the woke right, which is more of the, I guess, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly to some extent. Like it's a lot of these like, which is also, it comes back again to the anti-Semitism rhetoric that is ever present. So what can we do about it? And like it's on either side of the aisle. It's always there. It's always present. What can we do?
So I think first of all, like all these people are weird. They're weird. Like when you talk, Tucker Carlson. Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, they're weird. Like the stuff Nick Fuentes says, I'm not even gonna get into. He's weird. Like he's just strange.
He's an odd one.
Tucker Carlson's laugh. What is he doing?
Like every
like
5
the Joker.
It's like it's worse than the Joker. It's like,
like what are you doing, man? Like I know people laugh when they're awkward, but you can laugh when you're awkward, or you can have an awkward laugh. You can't have an awkward laugh while you're being awkward. You can't do it. And Candace Owens, but I mean, with these people, again, like we never should have had faith in any of them. For people who did, I never did. I saw people like years ago, Candace Owens provides a different approach to dealing with black issues. I'm like, bro, there's a reason why the black community doesn't like her. There's a reason why we don't like her. You shouldn't expect her to be like an accurate representation. And sure enough, what happens? She goes full Nazi. So, like, what are we gonna like? So I think there's.
Never go full Nazi.
Never go full Nazi. Don't even go a quarter Nazi. Don't do any Nazi, right? And I think what can we do to stop it? This is also a crisis of leadership to an extent with certain members of the American or the North American Jewish community, which shunned people who disagreed with them politically, but weren't going any % Nazi, right? Because you have a lot of it's statistically proven that up until the recent election, where it becomes a little bit more of a gray area to figure out what the statistics are, that Jewish Americans voted for Democrats because of values and a whole host of other reasons. I'm not even going to get it all into that, or because that you're a Jew, it doesn't matter, right? But you also have people who at that point said, okay, I'm not going to talk to a Republican, even if they like Israel, because we don't agree on this issue or that issue. We're not going to talk to a Republican, even if they're not an anti-Semite, because they don't agree with this issue or that issue. And little by little, that's allowed there to be more space for these far right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it creates division.
Creates division, and people choose teams and choose sides, and it's like they become kind of robots or sheep because they're just programmed to have all these opinions, even if they don't agree with all of them. It's like what their team supports. So it's like, oh, my team supports it, so I have to, I have to go along with everything that they say.
And then what happens to the young people, though?
The young people
who don't have a role model to look at.
The young people are here.
Yeah.
You understand? They're looking at this.
Yeah.
They're looking at this. And that means that they're being programmed with the information that, like, obviously TikTok is Chinese, right? They wanna push the propaganda onto them. And I don't know if they're on TikTok watching this clip right now, but if it is, probably getting canceled. but basically, there's a very, very clear agenda that's being pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear something enough times, you start believing it's true. Even if the beginning you were hesitant to believe it, if you hear it enough times and you're in the echo chamber enough, then you start to slowly say, oh, but maybe it's kind of true. And then like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could, let me carry a sign and go, protest for money.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. So,
it's rough. I mean, we gotta rebuild those bridges. Like,
we gotta rebuild the bridges, but it starts with education.
Yeah,
and it starts with like being able to disconnect from the echo chamber. Even us, we're also being told things, and not necessarily every single thing is like. We have to fact check. We have to check the sources. We have to understand truth, because truth has become a concept. Fugazi,
Yeah. It's just floating around.
Exactly. It's like it's become a subjective, And there are objective truths in the world. Everybody has their own perspective on things, but there are, things that are also factually correct. So to make your choices based on actual knowledge and evidence, and not just propaganda and like being triggered by certain buzzwords.
Yeah.
You
got to do it. I mean, everything that I think has to happen, like you have to have, if you're a Republican Jew in America, don't write off everybody who wants a two-state solution as like some anti-Zionist, because by definition they're actually the Zionist, right? Talk to them, figure out why you guys disagree, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a Democrat Jew in America, don't write off every Christian as like, oh, this person who's like, I don't even know what the perception is, right? But like there's all these ideas of like a white supremacist or whatever. Yeah. If they're open to talking to you, talk to them, right? Figure out where they stand, because if you're not going to talk to them, the only voice they're going to hear is that paid by Qatar voice of Tucker Carlson and his weird laugh. That's the only thing they're going to see on TikTok. The laugh is going to be in their head nonstop, right? It's going to just be playing on a loop. They're hypnotized.
Yeah, and when the communication stops, then the violence starts.
Yeah.
I want to kind of wrap us up with ask every interview, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received, and why?
I would say the best piece of advice I ever received was like not to ever I'll actually put it like this. It's a musical thing. When I was a little kid, my mom would always play music for us, and the song she would always play that I remember the most was James Brown, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." That's a command. That's advice. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. And I think that message itself, that piece of advice that my parents made sure was always playing in our house, lived on with me. So to kind of go back to the beginning of the interview, one of the main questions was like, how did I deal with anti-Semitism or racism? My parents told me I was going to deal with it from when I was a young age. And they told me, no matter what, don't let that stop you from doing things. They always said you're destined for greatness. Make sure you hold yourself to that standard too, regardless of what anyone else tells you about yourself. So I'd say that's a piece of advice. It's like, know your worth. Don't let what other people tell you about how you look outside affect what you know you're supposed to do in the world.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Your everything, the work with Hasbara, the music, the acting career that's going to be like,
crazy.
Breaking the box office for sure. I appreciate you being on. And yeah, bro.
Hell yeah.
That's a wrap. Let's go.